Hey, this is Andrew Brown, and in this video, we're going to take a look at Batch. I'm going to go over to my GitHub repo over here in AWS Examples. I'm going to open this up in Gitpod. You can use code spaces, Cloud9, whatever you want, but I'm going to open this up. This will already be connected to my AWS account here using AWS credentials. And the idea is that we want to go ahead and create a batch, a batch job, and so it shouldn't be too hard. We'll have to define a job, which we could do it over here and fill it out, but I would rather programmatically do it since I think that is the better way to do it. There's also a wizard, but again, we'll just try to programmatically do it because I think there's going to be a lot more value if we go and perform it in that way there. So I'm over here on my computer. And what I want to do is go to the batch directory because I kind of prepped a bit of this. I didn't actually do it end to end because I wanted to see if we have any issues. But the idea is that we need to register a job and then submit our job. And to register a job, we need to create a container, and that means the container will need to be pushed to ECR. So what we're going to do here is first test our app. So I have this square.py application, and all it does is it performs a square function. Okay, so something very simple, and it will have to take an input. So I want to just go here for a second and look at our Docker file, as this is not providing any kind of input parameters. So I'm wondering if this is actually going to even work, because it says if, then it'll provide the usage. So what we'll do is we'll cd into our batch app. And first we'll make sure that it works. I'm going to type in Python and then type in square pi and see if it works. And notice that it's asking for numbers. So I'm going to go ahead up and put 3. And so now we're getting this, the square of 3 is 9. So what we'll do is go back to our Docker file. I'm going to tweak this. I'm going to put the number 3 here. And so the idea is that this is what this Docker file should do. So I want to go ahead and build this image. And so I know in our ECR section, we probably covered this. So I'm going to go over to our ECR section. And also we need to log in as well. So we're going to have to provide the login. So somewhere here we have our login information. So this one is for SAA-C03 1, which is totally fine. This is the same thing you can get over at ECR. So if you were to go make a repo in ECR, which we haven't done so yet, but we need to do that. Like if I go over to here and I'm in SAA-C03 1, which is where I want to be, what we'll do is go ahead and create a new repo. This one's going to be called Square. And it'll be private because I don't care about it being public. We'll create the repo. And if we go into Square, you'll see here that it's just the same command here that we just ran, okay? So we are now logged in, so we can technically do that. But what I want to do is build our app. And so this line here will be sufficient for us to do that. So I'm going to go back to our README here. And we'll just say build image. And I'm going to go ahead and copy this line here and paste it in here. And I don't want to be in the app directory. I want to cd back out one. And I'm going to go ahead and grab this here. Hit enter. This says open Docker file, no such file or directory. So why is it having an issue? Well, there's a Docker file right here. Oh, you know what it is? It's because we're expecting the app to be in the app directory here. But we actually just want to say period. That's actually what we want to do. So we'll try this again. And we'll go ahead and hit enter. And so that should build this container. And I believe that we should be able to run it here on the right-hand side. So we'll wait for that to build. All right, so we have a minor issue here where it is saying, well, what is it saying? So we have work directory /app on line 7. So change the working directory. We don't actually have a directory called that, so we might actually have to create that before we do that. So I'm just go ahead and go say run mkdir /app, and maybe that will resolve our issue. I'm going to try this again and see what happens. And it still has an issue because it already exists. Okay, so we'll try it again, I suppose. And it still has an issue here. Failed to solve mkdir. Well, I removed the mkdir. Right? Working directory /app. Failed to solve mkdir not a directory. Uh-huh. Okay, well, what if we were to take this and place this up here? Okay, not sure why we're having such a hard time with this. There we go. And it might just be that it created this and it didn't, the order might have mattered because maybe it created this file as opposed to a folder. And now that it is a folder, then it will place it in the corresponding location. Not exactly sure, but that's totally fine. So what I'm going to do here is go over to here, and I'm going to see if we can run this. And so what I'm looking for is to see what it outputs. So we don't see anything, that's totally fine, but if we go ahead and there should be a way to look at its logs. Maybe inspect here. No. And I'm just going to bring this on over here, get this out of the way. But there should be a way to see logs. There used to be a way to see logs at least. Terminate will, etc., etc. So the question is it working? And that is what I'm not 100% sure about. I guess the other question is, why would Python output to here? So let's just say Python, you know what? There is a command that, that changes the buffer. And I remember doing this for one of our apps. I think it was an ECR. And if we go into the Docker file here, I think it was this line here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this. I'm going to paste this here. I'm going to see if that changes the output at all. And I'm going to go back over to Docker, and I'm going to right click and run, and we'll see what happens this time. So no changes, but the question is like, how do I see the logging? So Docker image see logging. Because I thought inspect, that's what it would do. So we have Docker logs. That is the command that we could use. So I'm going to go back over to here. Say Docker logs. And then it will want the particular container. So this container is called what? App? Nope. And so I'll say Docker list, Docker PS, Docker images. Okay, and so we'll try this again, Docker logs, and I'll try to provide the image ID, see if that makes any difference. Because I can only get it from an active container, right? So the point is that in order for us to know this is working, we need to see logging. And that's where I'm having a bit of frustration. Let's go back over to our app here. And yeah, it just prints it out. So that's what I want to observe. So give me a moment to figure that out. So one thing that was suggested was maybe we could give it the -u flag. So if we go back over to here, again, I don't know if that'll make a difference, but there is a flag called -u, and we'll see what that does. So I'm going to try this again. We'll say, we'll have to, I suppose, build it again, right? Docker build, and then we'll go back over to here, and I'll try run. And I still don't see any output. I'm not suggesting that it's not working, because we could go interactive probably. And now it's outputting. Okay, so I mean, I think that's sufficient. As long as we know that it is outputting and it's working, then I'm happy with it. I just don't necessarily know how to do that on a one-off here right now. So what we'll do is we'll just proceed forward. So now that we have that part, the next thing is to upload our app here. So I'm going to go ahead and follow the commands as expected. So we'll do square, and then I'll grab the next one, hit enter, and I'll grab the next one, and we will tag it, and I'll grab the next one, and we will push it. And so now we'll have our container in ECR. So we'll just give that a moment to push. All right, so that is now pushed. I'm going to go back over to ECR here, and so we should now have a repo. I'll give this a nice refresh. There it is. What I need to do is grab the URI, and I believe that what it wants here in the next command is our URI. So what I'm going to do is replace this here, and hopefully, just as that will work. You don't want to have the double E on there, though. That was kind of a copy-paste issue. So we'll go ahead and take that out. And I'm going to close this out. We'll go ahead and copy this. We'll type in clear. We'll hit enter. And it says, when calling the register, error executing, vCPU is required. So I figured there should be more in the configuration here than this. It seems a pretty low, as I remember having to do more. So we're going to bring this down here. Let's bring this up. And we'll have to look up how these definition files are written. So we'll just look up container definition batch example. And do we have an example here? I mean, it has a lot of stuff in here. I just want the JSON, which is kind of annoying. Maybe I can see a Ruby version. Probably not. They are not making this one easy for us. So I know I have it in my slides. So give me a moment. I'm going to pull up the slides so we can reference them. Yeah, you know what? I can't seem to find. Look at this. I only have one slide. I remember making more than one slide for AWS Batch, but I guess I don't have the example code. So we're going to have to figure it out by hand here. So it says register job definition, vCPU is required, etc. So I guess we'll just have to go down here and see what it wants. Because even going here, it doesn't say vCPU, it just says CPU. vCPU. So this is not the best. We'll go to AWS CLI and we'll say register batch. We'll see if we can find an example here. So this one here has vCPUs in memory, and so this one might be a little bit more easier for us to work with. That's probably all we need. I'm hoping anyway. So we'll go ahead and do this, and we'll go down here, and I'm going to go ahead and copy this, and clear. Whoops, clear, copy, enter, and there's a syntax error somewhere. Okay. Oh, you know what it is? I'm missing the double quotation here. So we'll go ahead and copy this. And we'll paste this in here. And so now we have our job definition. So excellent, we have that. We'll go back over to batch and we'll see if it exists. And I'm going to go over to job definitions. And so we have our square job here. And so that looks pretty good so far. So yeah, pretty much defines it. So now the next question is, can we just run this and will it work? And so here it's saying we have a job, we have a definition, and we have a queue. I didn't create a queue. Do I have to create a queue first? Because I haven't made one. So I'm expecting that this will fail. We'll hit enter. Yeah, so it wants a queue. So we'll have to go create a queue next. So we'll go all the way to the top here. And while we're here, we might as well just copy these so that you can find them easier later on. So that is that one there. All the way to the top. I'm going to go back to batch. Where are you? Oh, here it is, batch. And we'll say create job queue. We'll go to examples. And here's one, which I wish it was a little bit easier than that, but I guess it's not. So say create queue. And it has CLI input. And it'd just been nice if they actually just not done it that way and they just had all the options here. So I'm going to copy this here because I think I might want to just manually specify it. I don't really want to supply it like this. And I'm going to go back over to here. Whoops. Go all the way to the top. And so we have state. We have job queue name. So that'll be the first thing. And so it'd be my job. Or what did we call it up here? Or down here? We called it my job queue. So my job queue, that's part one. Take that out of here. And then we have the state. So I'll just put state enabled. Priority. $10. Okay, so that's there. We have compute environment order. So we'll go grab that next. Like, what lazy person at AWS did not make proper examples? I don't know why. Like, yes, this technically works, but why? You know what I mean? So we have create job queue, my job queue, enable 10, compute environment order. And I'm just looking for the shorter form of it. So this is the shorter form. And so here it's suggesting like what it would prioritize it on. Now, I don't really care what it runs on as long as it runs. Map to a job queue. The job scheduler uses the parameter term and compute. All the compute environments must either be EC2 or Spot or Fargate Spot. So I don't really want to run Spot. I'd rather just run Fargate. Here it says, computer environments must be in the valid state before you can associate them to the job. All compute environments must be either EC2, Spot or Fargate Spot. The Amazon resource name of the compute environment. So here we're actually providing the ARN of the compute environment. Okay. This is M4 Spot. That can't make any sense. Give me a second, okay? So over in CloudFormation, I think it's CloudFormation, it's telling us a bit more about it. So it says compute environment, you can define managed or unmanaged compute environments. Managed compute environments use EC2 or Fargate, which makes sense. Unmanaged can only use EC2 resources. So I mean, that's telling you a little bit more. So maybe we go down to compute resources here. This is not very descriptive. It is not providing us good information here. The Amazon resource name of the compute environment. Okay, let me see if I can get ChatGPT to try to help us out here. All right, so it looks like what we need to do is actually create our compute environment, and then we're specifying it there. So that's starting to make a lot more sense. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this here, and I'm going to go back to our example here. I'm going to grab this. And since there's only one thing, I'm just going to make this 1. And so now we have my compute environment. The order is 1. So I think that is good there. But now we also have to create a compute environment. And I mean, if this works, that'd be great. But I feel like there's a little bit more to it than this. So we'll go here. And the question I have is, does this service role already exist? That'd be nice. So now this managed thing is making sense. We have minimum vCPUs 1, max vCPU 64. I don't think so. How about 1? Instance types. I don't want an M4, that's for sure. So let's go ahead and go to compute environments and see what options we have. So let's say it's Fargate. And we do have this AWS service role for batch. Is that what we're using? AWS service role for AWS batch service role. No, that is not what ours is called. And I'm trying to select it, but it's not making it easy for me here. I'm going to make a new tab, I guess, and go over to IAM. Whenever the IAM tab wants to open here. All right, there we go. So we'll make our way over to IAM, as I was saying before. And what I want to do is find this role and see if it exists. So AWS service role for batch. And we'll go into roles. AWS service role for batch. Notice that it doesn't exist yet because I think it would probably create one when we do this one. So I guess I'll just create a compute environment here, compute env. We'll say Fargate, and I'll say max vCPU is 1. We'll say next, and the rest of this is fine, next. We'll create that compute environment. And so maybe we don't really need to you know what I'm saying? Maybe we could just use this one and we can just skip the step because it looked like it had a lot of steps here. So I think what I'll do is just skip that one. We'll go down to our queue here. And then it said that it wanted from our compute environment the ARN. So that would make me think that it would want the ARN here, right? Like that, because it said ARN in the docs. Let's go ahead and see what happens if we try this. And it does not like that. So what if we try this instead? Okay, we'll copy this. We'll paste it in here, hit enter. And it still doesn't like it. So we'll go back here, I guess, and read the docs here. So this was for creating the job queue. And here it says, the Amazon resource name ARN for the environment. Okay. Well, what we could do, if it doesn't like this, we could just give it its parameters here. Computer environment is, yeah, just the ARN. So I'll grab it here like this, and we will paste this in as such. And we'll do this, and we'll say 1. And then what I'll do is I'll go back and grab the full ARN, because again, it's saying that it wants the ARN. And we'll paste that in like that. We'll go ahead and copy this, and we'll hit enter. I think it's not supposed to be backticks here, so I'll just fix that. It's very easy to get the backticks mixed up. I'm just so used to pressing backtick. We'll hit enter. Still doesn't like it. The following arguments are required. Compute environment order. So I think the issue here is the fact that I just forgot a hyphen there. We might not even have to change that to JSON. We'll try this again. We'll hit enter. And so now it's created our queue. Excellent. Let's go see if we can create our job now. It says the job queue is attached to compute environment that cannot run jobs with capabilities of EC2. The job queue is attached to a compute environment that cannot run jobs with the capacity of EC2. So there's something it doesn't like here. So we'll go back. This is kind of frustrating. We'll go take a look at our job queue, which we have one. It says ECS Fargate type, which is what I thought that we are running here. We'll go back over to this. And here we have our job queue, and then we have our job definition. So what is the problem? And this one is a container, so that should run on ECS, so that should not be our issue here. And our compute environment is Fargate, so that should not be our issue either. I guess the other thing is, do we have to define? I mean, we can try it here. So let's say my job. And we can try it here and see if we get the same problem. Notice it shows no job queue. Why not? We'll go back over to here. Says it's valid. Says it's enabled. Says it works with ECS Fargate. We'll submit our job again. And nothing. So there's clearly something wrong with our job queue. Let's go over here. I'm going to disable this. Disable this queue. And delete it. We'll create it by hand. So we'll say Fargate. My job queue. I don't want a scheduling policy. We're choosing our compute environment that we want to utilize, which is Fargate here, which is great. We have priority 1. Everything else seems fine. We'll create this. My job queue. We'll create this. My job queue 2. We'll create it again. There we go. We'll go over to here. It's still deleting the old one. Let's go ahead and create a job. My job. Wow, the service is not a fun one, and it doesn't show up. So give me a second, okay? So no answer here whatsoever. So I'm thinking that maybe it's something wrong with our compute environment. So let's go over to our compute environment. We'll go ahead and hit, oh, I did not mean to disable that. We'll go ahead and we will hit edit. So we have one vCPU, which is totally fine. It's enabled. We have our VPC selected, our subnet selected. So everything seems fine here. There's nothing that would indicate to me that this is wrong. Okay. It is updating right now. Now it's back to valid. We have no minimum or desired. It's just maximum is set to 1. I wonder if that's messing it up. We don't have options for the other values here. So that's interesting. So that's ECS Fargate type. Let's click here and take a look again. And this says Fargate, so do we need this? No, that does not matter. We have our compute environment. We don't need to do anything else here. So it seems like we have everything that we need to create this. I guess we'll try again, and we'll drop it down. And yeah, it just does not let us select the job queue. I'll go research a bit more, okay? So yeah, no solution in sight here yet. I'm gonna go back over to our job queue. Click into it. I'm just making sure that everything's enabled and working. So this says the queue is healthy, it's enabled. Looks like it's ready to go. It has this compute environment here, so clearly we can utilize this one. This one says it's healthy. Like, are we just being impatient here and we just have to wait for it to work? Still nothing to select. I'm giving this a hard refresh. And yeah, so I'm going to say this is quits here because clearly AWS batch is the problem, not me. There's no information out there as to why this is happening. I'm not going to go pay AWS support to utilize their service. But anyway, you have an idea of how this would work. So the idea is that we should register a job, create the compute environment, create the queue, submit the job, and it should just work. But what we'll do here, because this one is total bust, I'm going to go ahead and tear this down. And it just sucks when I have a lab and I feel like we're so close to making it work, but there's nothing I can do here. But I think this is kind of AWS's fault here for this shoddy service. So we'll go here and disable this and delete that. And so everything is cleaned up. I will see you in the next one, okay? Ciao.